Sweeney's born in Kingston upon Thames in a family of around 5. Talk to us what growing up in the Sweeney household was like as a youngster.
Yeah, it was, obviously having an older brother, he'd smash me up a bit and bits like that. But yeah, no, we were very lucky to have a real good upbringing. Had a younger sister as well and an older one. So yeah, I think me and my brother felt like we needed to look after them and bits like that, and that's what our mum and dad sort of instilled in us. And yeah, it was like I said, we had a real good upbringing. Good family, good friends around us. So yeah, we enjoyed growing up in our little community, and as you can imagine, with me and my brother, it was just football 24/7. We'd be out all the time out the front, out the part of our mates, just like you said before, smashing each other up and booting a ball around for hours. So yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, do you think that represents who you are today and has ultimately set you up in good stead for the rest of your life and your career?
Yeah, we got, I think if you spoke to my brother as well, he'd say the exact same thing. And in terms of our grounding was really good. I was fortunate enough, like moving on a little bit in terms of going into football, I was fortunate enough to go through an academy and go into a first team, whereas my brother had to he come out of football and was working with my uncle. And I think, when I speak to him, he'd be asking how my day was, and I'll be saying about training, and he'd be saying about, he was digging out trenches at, 7:30 in the morning and stuff like that. So I think that, looking back on that helped me as well to stay grounded. And, we've always had really good people around us, in terms of my dad, my uncle as well. He was like that as well. We were really close with him. To keep us grounded, and he stood us in good stead moving forward.
Yeah, was there a period where you both thought you was going to become footballers, or did that never really land together? Or was it always kind of one of you was going to go one way and one was going to go the other?
I think for me, I think it's a completely different journey. When you're going through an academy as a first year and a second year scholar, you've always got that hope and that belief that you're going to make it. But I think from Dan's point of view, when he stepped out of football and he's playing for clubs like Chipstead, he was at Dulwich Hamlet for a bit. It can probably go one or two ways for lads. But when I used to speak to him, he's probably one of the most driven people I've ever met. In terms of someone who's working a day job and then travelling miles for games and getting in at 1-2 o'clock in the morning and up at 6 o'clock. To see him with that drive and that hunger to still go and think, yeah, like I'm going to get back into the game here, was incredible to watch and go on that journey with him also. So yeah, when he did do it and completed that, it was unbelievable, because you see so many lads just fall out of the game in terms of that. But for him to sort of come back from getting such a big setback at a young age and then to stay driven and keep going was amazing to see.
Yeah, you came through AFC Wimbledon's academy from around the age of 8 before making your first team debut at 17. Talk us through your time with the Dons.
Yeah, it was incredible, because I'd started off there. We were speaking on Saturday. We were all writing up on a board like where we sort of first played our Sunday League clubs, and mine was Wimbledon. And the gaffer said, "Have you been in the academy like since then?" I said, "Like, well, that was like the Sunday League team." So I went through Sunday League into the academy with like some of my closest mates, which was strange. And then a few of us managed to make our debut. When we were about 17, 18, and the day I made my debut, I think we were 4-0 down at Dagenham and Redbridge away. And as a young lad, you just kind of stay on your feet, like you want to look like you obviously you're interested, you want to get on. And I got called back to get my shirt on, and it was a bit surreal, because we got booed off at the end of the game, but I was kind of sitting there going like, I'll just like made my debut, and that's something. Especially when you get to the age of sort of 15, I think that's when I was kind of sort of thinking about first team football, and like this is something I want to do. So yeah, no, that was an incredible moment, and then moved forward, played quite a few times for them, and then moved on to Stoke. But it gave me incredible grounding. Some of the some of the pros there I'd worked with and learnt off was unbelievable.
Yeah, could you have envisaged just over a year later after making your first team debut that you would be making this move to Stoke?
No, not at all. Because I think I don't know whether at 17 I was actually ready. I was really slight. I'd hit a bit of a growth spurt, and I was really slight, like gangly, and when you come up against some of the especially in League Two, League One, how aggressive and physical strikers are. Physically I weren't ready, and then I ended up playing, and then sort of I think that when you first go into a first team, you're trying to go in and not make a mistake. That was sort of my thought process of just sort of don't make yourself look like an idiot, basically. And I think I played 14 or 15 games, and I think I had one game I remember playing, and everything seemed to kind of come off for me, and I had a good game, and I think Stoke were in the stand at the time, and at 18. Especially as a centre half playing League Two football, I think they probably thought they'd go and take a chance on me. So I think I'd never really thought I'd go and make that move. It seemed a bit of a dream at the time, and then when it came about, it was quite surreal. And then obviously the gaffer rang me one day and said the deal was done. So I ended up travelling up and signing.
Yeah, how was moving away from home for the first time and ultimately training day to day with some really big names?
Yeah, it was. I think moving away was. I think I found it a lot tougher looking back than I probably thought it would be. Because every time obviously I was living at home still when I was at Wimbledon. I'd go and train. I had all my mates in and around me. I'd go home, had my mum and dad there, and then obviously moving away to somewhere that was about 3 hours away, 3.5 hours away. It was tough. I moved into a flat of my own at 18, 19. It was, like I said, it was difficult. But moving there, it was a huge learning curve. And then obviously going over, and I remember on my first day I went to train with the 23s, and then they called me over and said, "Oh, you're actually with the first team." And like you're jogging over, and I'm seeing like some names because I've been obsessed with football my whole life. You see names that you basically watch on the telly every week, and and then I was there chasing them about in possession drills and stuff like that. It was quite surreal, and it was obviously an amazing learning experience as well.
Yeah, during that period you went out and had loans at Bristol Rovers and Mansfield before the permanent move to the Stags. How were those experiences as a whole?
Yeah, really good. I think, going out on loan to like Bristol, that was obviously the first time I'd played, going in and playing consecutive games. Obviously at League One level, that was an incredible learning experience for me. And then obviously moving on to Mansfield, I was moving to a team who were ultimately trying to get promoted out of the league. So it's probably the first time I've had that pressure of going to play, and then obviously trying to win sort of week in, week out, to try and get promoted. So it was unbelievable, and just all the things that comes with being a footballer. It was obviously a really interesting time in my career, and I moved there permanently, and then obviously that was the first time I probably got settled off the pitch also, it was a great time.
Following getting settled in the Midlands, before you know it, you're off north of the border, up to Dundee. Tell us how that move came about.
Yeah, it was one of them. I'd left Mansfield at the time. I felt I was probably, at an age where maybe I need to just try something maybe a little bit different. I had a few bits in the summer, a few offers, and then someone who I'd played with at Mansfield knew the Dundee manager, and just asked me if I'd fancy it, and I sort of had a look at it, and then I went up to meet him, and that's how it got done. It was again like a completely different experience, like sort of different dressing room to go into. Obviously sides I'd never ever come up against in my career before. It was a great experience up there, and moving like obviously so far from home, and getting settled with a young family also. There was obviously tough moments in there trying to adapt to all that. But yeah, again, it was a good 2 years I had up there. Something I'd always cherish. Obviously the first year didn't go great, and then second year, I'd made memories I'd hold on to for the rest of my life, not just in my footballing career. So yeah, it was a really good time up there.
Yeah, obviously you came across your current manager Gary Bowyer during your second year when you went on to win the Scottish Championship. You also won some pretty big accolades in your first year. How important do you think that was in terms of being where you are today?
Yeah, it's massive. I would have said I would rather have success on the pitch than personal accolades all the time. But yeah, I think in terms of that, it was just something obviously come about there. They have a lot of player of the years up there, and supporters clubs, and I ended up winning quite a few in my first year, which obviously is brilliant for me. And something again, like I've still got the trophies at home and like in boxes and things like that. So yeah, they're brilliant things to look back on over the years and over the course of your career, just to see sort of what you've achieved personally and also as a team. So yeah, it was nice to pick up them awards.
Yeah, then you moved to Burton Albion comes around. There was speculation about you potentially moving to a few clubs. Get a phone call off Dino Marmreer, and what happened?
Yeah, it come about like sort of in terms of meeting Dino, and he rung me because I was still in Scotland at the time, and my partner hadn't finished work yet, so I was still up there, and still just sort of waiting to pick the right move, and Dino called me and asked me if I could go and meet him the next day, so I drove down the following day. Had a good chat with him, and it was something I wanted to explore and wanted to do straight away. To be honest with you, I've known quite a few people that have played for the football club, and I spoke to them and said how good it was here and just positive things to say. So I think about a week or two later I was in, and yeah, I was obviously really happy to get that done. Then it was just straight down to work.
Yeah, it's not been the most straightforward 2 seasons here that you've had in terms of results on the pitch and league positions, but ultimately, how have you found it? Because you look like somebody who enjoys playing for the club.
Yeah, I love it. Ultimately, we had obviously tough moments last year, but I think that sort of brings people closer together. I think it brings fans closer together even through tough times. I think you can see it, especially in the second half of this season, where probably at times we've looked a bit down and out, and to where we've come from, especially since the turn of the year to now, and you can see the fans how behind us they are, how together we are, and sometimes I think that actually brings you closer than if you was maybe sitting in and around mid-table and things like that. So yeah, they've certainly got behind us, and through tough times or good times, every time I've put on the shirt, I've tried to give 100% and give my best, and yeah, I've genuinely loved every minute of it.
Yeah, and where you are in your career now, are you arguably the most settled you've felt, and being close to home, family, and stuff like that?
Yeah, definitely. I'm from down south, but I've definitely found a home up here. I probably actually prefer living up north than to down south, to be honest with you. But yeah, no, I've got a new baby in my house as well, so my family's grown a little bit more the last couple of months, and yeah, my boy will be starting school in a few months' time. So yeah, in terms of a family settlement, we're very, very settled here, and yeah, I can't really see us moving anytime soon from the area. So we're like I said, we're all good, and yeah, enjoying it.
Yeah, got plenty of years left ahead of you in the game at the moment. Any plans for life after football?
That's a good question, honestly. I've looked. Yeah, it's probably the first time I've actually probably looked over the last couple of months, and been having conversations. My partner's pushing me to constantly be thinking about that sort of stuff, and I think as footballers, you're always thinking, I've still got loads of time, but when I look back to what we spoke about earlier in terms of making my debut, that was 10 years ago, and I can't believe how quick that's gone. So I've got a few things in my head in terms of maybe coaching and things like that, which I find really interesting, and because I love football. It's been my life. So yeah, things like that maybe will interest me, but things can change as well. So I have to see what happens.
Brian Sweeney, thank you for your time, sir.
No problem.